So if as a leader, if I start to work with someone who has this like opposite energy from my default mode or my primary self, then I may be drawn to them, but I also might find them quite annoying or something like that because I don't feel like I can work with them. How can I use voice dialogue to work better with people that I feel I don't get along with?
Well, then, if you have a person that you find irritating, and let's say it's good to see the behavior is irritating, huh? That's one. And then the second step is to say, well, how should it be? Meaning, what are your rules? And if you follow that, what are your rules? Let's say you don't like a person who's whatever.
I don't like people that are I don't like people that are I guess like they think it's my way or the highway.
How should it be? Huh? Um, well, then I would ask you, of course, to
Yeah,
find out.
they should consider like other people's opinions or be open to hearing different viewpoints.
Right. So if you follow that, those words, then it leads to a part of you that says, well, one should be open and democratic and at the same level. And by following that more, it would become a sub-personality or even an archetype that's, that's important for you and that helps you at this time and that has values that you enjoy. So then the step after that would be to ask, well, what's the worst that can happen if everyone would be, my way or the highway? And so we go to the fear of the, let's say, your primary self.
Nobody's really getting along because there's no compromise or no willingness to listen. Everybody's just sort of driving their own opinion down each other's throats.
And if you amplify that one, what would be the worst result of that?
Oh, that's a good question.
To answer that, you have to go indeed in the energy of this your own vulnerability
Right,
and
right.
feel it in the body, feel it in your stomach, and just breathe and just see what comes up.
I think just like chaotic violence that I wouldn't have any control over. And so I think if the world was really hyper my way or the highway, I would feel very much in danger.
So the idea is first you see what's irritating you, then you get to your rule. In this case, we have to do it together and respectful and openness, and then look at the fear that may be underneath, like a child that's scared of this violence and chaos and stuff. So then step number 4 would be, okay, you as an aware ego, how can you take care of that part of you that's scared in a way, like how can you hold it and reassure it? Can you tell it it's okay, you're safe, I'm with you?
I see some sort of like taking care of myself in a chaotic world.
Right. Yeah.
Somehow, like, bombs are going off all around me and people are fighting each other and there's all sorts of disconnection and war and whatever. But I'm here sort of just trying to take care of myself.
Do you have like a safe space where bomb shelter or something?
Yeah, exactly. I'm building a little nest or something, a bomb-proof nest.
A bomb-proof nest with your
Yeah,
imagination. Yeah.
yeah.
So in that way, like that's usually necessary to that's why it's not enough to just recognize the irritation is a disowned self. It also needs to a person to go take care of their vulnerability, which doesn't have to last a long time. It can be done in one session like that. And then the fifth step would be to see, well, okay, the disowned self, the, let's say, my way or the highway, the selfish, that part, if you imagine that you have just a tiny doses of that, like you're boiling that person or that behavior, I should say, you're boiling it in a big pot and then for several days make a stew, and then you have only 1 teaspoon of this energy. And if you were to bring that in and imagine like you're taking that in, it influences your whole system. So what could it bring you in this period?
Yeah, I think this energy is really helpful for me being more assertive and me being more vocal about my own opinions
Hmm.
rather
Hmm.
than just if someone disagrees or has a different statement that somehow I like just forget about my own sense of things. And I think that's so important in like this time because we can tend to sort of, especially in groups, like in order to maintain some sort of harmony, that everybody just sort of says yes and forgets about their own opinion because they want to be open to new ideas, but they lose their own sense of what they need or what's right or their message. And I think that that would also be really tragic. And so the more that I think about like taking a little dose of um this different energy, I think I can appreciate the value of people coming together and really being honest about their own opinion and asserting themselves in a constructive dialogue process.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I think from that point you can really then get incredibly creative ideas that you couldn't have before. But if everybody folds and sort of says, okay, fine, like I succumb to the opinion of the person who's in power or something like that, then we don't really have like a generative dialogue.
And you see that person that's so irritating, that behavior, which is then your teacher.
Yeah.
So these are ways to look at relationships based on psychology of self.